People always ask such great questions in my live Q&As. So for this time that I'm away, I thought that I would share with you a question from a community member and my response. I hope you find this beneficial. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you for joining me. Make sure to subscribe and click the bell for notifications. When dealing with grief of losing someone, how do you let go of the guilt about not spending enough time with them? Feeling guilty about the lack of relationship, even though you love them. This is something I know that a lot of people can relate to as well. And I know that your question is specifically to loss and death. At least I am pretty sure that it is. But that can also be something that people can feel to a certain extent around, like even setting boundaries with unhealthy relationships as well. But in terms of guilt about not spending enough time with them, this is kind of hard because, and why grief is so complicated. Because if it is in fact true that you did not have a really close connected relationship with somebody, then that is going to be one of the things you hold on to in terms of guilt. And guilt is a normal feeling that we go through. It's an emotion that we go through with loss, particularly death. It is a normal thing that virtually everybody experiences on some level when somebody that they care about dies. So part of it is just recognizing that because guilt is a natural part of grief, that you will cling to anything that you can find to feel that guilt. Anything that you will find, just as when it comes to being abused as a child, we will grab a hold of any little thing that we can think of to make it our fault, to take on the responsibility for what happened. It's not based in truth, but if we raised our voice, if we didn't say no, if we wore a swimsuit, we will take that as proof that we are the cause of what happened when it comes to abuse or sexual abuse. When dealing with guilt around grief, you will take absolutely anything that you can hold on to as proof as to why you should feel guilty. And I say proof in quotes because it isn't based in reality. So being able to recognize that, I think, is one important piece. The other part, I think, has a lot to do with self-compassion. So there are, for any of us, if you didn't spend a lot of time with somebody, there's a reason for that. Now, I don't know what the reason, there could be any number of reasons, but there's a reason that you chose, consciously or not, there's a reason that you chose not to have a relationship. And I think it's important to honor that. Whatever the reason is, there was a reason that you made that choice. So being able to honor that without feeling that that makes you a bad person. If we are not in relationship with somebody that we do in fact care for or love, there's likely, generally speaking, something for that person also as to why they may not have engaged as much. So I think that's important to recognize. But I think the biggest thing is about self-compassion. And so whatever that reason is, whether it seems to make sense or not, whether other people would think it makes sense or not, being able to honor that within yourself. Being able to have compassion for the part of you that made the decision at the time that you made the decision. And oftentimes, especially if it's somebody that the relationship is a close relationship, and we choose not to be really engaged in the relationship, there's likely a reason that has something to do with trying to protect yourself, trying to take care of yourself even. And so being able to recognize that, being able to be compassionate with yourself for that is important. And also recognizing the truth that even for people that do spend a lot of time with people that they care about or somebody that they care about, they will almost always also feel guilt that they didn't spend enough time. So that guilt around not spending enough time or not doing enough is something that people feel even when there's literally no more time that they could have spent or nothing more that they could have done. Because again, we grab a hold of anything. So for somebody who spends a lot of time with that person, or who did spend a lot of time with that person, they're going to focus on the one time that they didn't, the one night that they didn't go over there. That person is going to continue to replay that one time. Why didn't I do it? I knew I should have done that. If I had just done that, it'd have been different. I'm such a horrible person because I should have driven in the blizzard anyway. They will do that because they're going to grab a hold of anything to feel guilty. And it is a practice. You have to keep reminding yourself, you have to keep practicing self-compassion over and over again. Grief is not linear. It certainly doesn't happen within a specified period of time. And the more vulnerable we are, the more loss there is, the more depth of grief there is to move through, the more guilt there is that we're going to feel. I wish that there was something that I could say, that I could suggest that you could just tell yourself and it would go away. But the reality is that there is nothing that we struggle with that is that simple. And the more guilt we feel in general, the more guilt we're going to feel in grief. So self-compassion really is one of the most important things you can practice. Reminding yourself of the times that you were there, even in thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope that you found it helpful. If you have your own question that you'd like to ask, send it to qanda@courageousjourneys.com. That link will be below. And if you're interested in participating in live events, group experiences, healing experiences, or would just like to stay connected, make sure to sign up for my newsletter. That link will be below as well. Thanks so much for watching.